What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well.
To see their new offerings, perfect flannels for this transitional weather when it's a little bit nicer. You want something a little lighter with spring-inspired colors, the same buttery soft fabric, the same vibe, the same feel. You'll look great. You'll feel great. You'll be able to be outside in the spring and just know that you can, be warm, be comfortable, and look like $1 million. Jason, how you doing, brother?
I am never going to financially recover from this.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
you
win
bet
some bets yesterday?
You bet too many Super Bowl props is what it sounds like.
Honestly, I didn't.
Had played 3 games in 7 days. They just weren't themselves. And
this was yesterday.
Okay. But right before the Super Bowl. So middle, it's like the break between the third and the fourth quarter, and I've realized I'm not going to write a column off this game. And so then I log on. I'm like, yeah, let's see what the Super Bowl props that I haven't bet
Fire up
yet.
some bets.
Yeah,
make this game more interesting.
So I went from making like 3 to 4 really structured prop bets to like 14 in like a 2-minute span.
Yep.
And naturally, I wound up on the wrong side of.
They start out smart. I needed like 10 more yards out of Debo receiving wise to hit one of the parlays. Like you do the smart ones, and then you kind of do a little flyer sprinkle on some of those. But yeah,
I was making good money on under 3.5 touchdowns. But live Couch in the Rube show. That's this Saturday, February 17th at Midtown Brewing Company, 2:00. We'll do a live show. Come hang with us. We'll do some fun stuff. Maybe some Twitter questions that are a little.
We'll have some giveaways too.
Yep, off the beaten path a little bit, and it'll be good. No prison stories, I promise, Jason. We won't do that, but it'll be a lot of fun. A great chance for you to see Midtown Brewing Company if you haven't already. If you have, you know the vibe, you know the menu. They've done some things that I really like, even to upgrade what I thought was already a fantastic place, and it's a good place to watch the game. You could hang around and watch the Michigan State game later that night, or just have a great meal, have some drinks. Just a wonderful place, and want you to experience what we've known for a long time at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing.
I was checking out their menu yesterday, and man, I can't
dig in our hot takes.
Yeah, man.
You want to go first?
Sure. I'm pretty depressed, as you can. Hold on, I'm trying to get this thing. Something's wrong with the. Okay. Yesterday, it was definitely a weird feeling. I was going into the weekend knowing that I just wasn't going to feel right, knowing that the Lions, because every time I looked up at the TV and saw the Kansas City Chiefs versus the 49ers, I just got depressed. It should have been Kansas City versus the Detroit Lions and Amon-Ra St. Brown, like stories like that. And it's a feeling, Graham, and I know I've talked about it before this year, of how, a year ago I was dead inside, and now I feel so much different. So these feelings are just kind of weird, right? And I'm just I wasn't even into like the bets or everything, because in previous years the Lions weren't in the playoffs, so you didn't really give a shit. But being up 17, NFC Championship game, you should have won that game. I just constantly sat at the TV and go, "Fuck, we lost that game. I can't. We should be in this game." But it's just like I just constantly keep going, we should have won that game. So I hope it goes away over the summer, but I doubt it.
So I'll piggyback off this for my first hot take here. There are lessons in watching teams lose to Mahomes this postseason, the 49ers being the most recent. And as I watched that game, I kept thinking, the Lions have never been to a Super Bowl, so getting to a Super Bowl, even losing it, I think would still be better than not getting there. But would it be better to have the Lions be on the short end of the stick with Mahomes, who's sort of in this Michael Jordan territory where he just suffocates the life out of everybody else's legacy, right? And it is... one of the things I kept thinking about is the Lions would have lost this game. Jared Goff is not going to be the man to go mano-a-mano with Mahomes the way the Lions are currently constructed because of one thing. The same thingers don't have a great kicker. The Lions don't have a great kicker. You are not going to beat Mahomes if you squander points. And I know.
So that must mean that they're hard to find, a good kicker, that is.
I don't.
All of these teams, these good teams you just mentioned, don't have kickers. It's like,
make it a priority this offseason. Because for the Lions,
like Belichick and draft one in the first round or second round.
As long as you are going to have, and look, Moody was a high draft pick. I'm not saying you have to take Moody's the guy, right, for the 49ers. Yeah. I'm not saying you have to take them high. You got to, whether you sign them, whatever
but
you
you're
do.
making it sound so important. So why wouldn't you take a kicker high if you actually
correct? If you have the guy,
you like that, yeah,
100%.
Good luck with your fan base, but
if you have Jared Goff as your quarterback and you have to take down Patrick Mahomes, you are going to live within tight margins forever. And don't lose. Don't get – and you're going to have a window, and you're going to have limited opportunities. You don't get Joe Burrow opportunities. You don't get Patrick Mahomes opportunities. You get like a 5-year window. Don't blow your opportunity because you don't have a kicker.
Are we going to talk Michigan State? I can't believe your first take wasn't Michigan State hoops. I mean, after that great victory against Illinois,
I was piggybacking off of you, and I just wanted to keep it on. Keep it in the same way.
I was just so in reading your column post game and your 3 quick takes and all that. I'm like, man, is the season turning around? Are we turning a new leaf? And then I go, oh shit, that's right. We've only won 1 game on the road all season. Can we calm down? I'm sure like the hot takes are filled with all of this glee and happiness. I'm just saying there was a lot of times in that game I'm like, this team is ass. Yes, it was a great victory against Illinois. Illinois is a tough team. I think they could do things in the Big Ten tournament. I like Hawkins a lot, but I'm not sold. I'm not buying in again. I can't keep doing this in and out. Like, what are we doing? If they win, beat Penn State on the road. Let's start there. Everybody talks about Purdue down the road at Mackey. Fuck that. Let's talk about Penn State on Wednesday. Can they win that game convincingly?
Is one of the top teams in college basketball, and so it's another game where you show on a given day you can take those teams out just in terms of length and ability, and they're not perfect. They don't have a point guard. If you put A.J. Hoggard on Illinois, they'd be my pick to win the national title. They don't have a great point guard. When the ball's in Terrence Shannon's hands, things tend to go well. But when they take it out of his hands late in games, things sometimes don't. But Michigan State was always more likely to lose to Minnesota than they were to lose to Illinois. Like, that is the home road. Those are the splits in the Big Ten this year. They're extreme. In college basketball, they're more extreme than ever. And so that's just, you're seeing it on every show. You're seeing, people say, well, they've got to really close well, and they don't have a lot of great opponents left, so I don't even know. They might still be on the bubble. This team is not on the bubble. They're not on the bubble. This team is number 23 in the NCAA's net rankings. No team that high has ever not made the NCAA tournament. They do need to win. They do need to not screw it up.
So you're worried about the Chad Latz bet then?
No.
Okay.
No.
Sounds like you're so passionate about it. It sounds like you don't want to. You're going to welch on the Chad Latz bet if they don't make the tourney.
They should not even be an 8 seed. But number one, that would be unfair to a 1 seed. If this Michigan State team was an 8 seed, they have to play them in the second round because that team can beat a 1 seed. And I'm going to do a piece later on in the week on this. It's just asinine, this idea. Part of what happened is they lost early to James Madison, and they lose that Wisconsin game at home, and they sort of lost their ability to control the narrative. And then there's a Champions Classic problem here that drives me nuts. All these national folks waddle in for the Champions Classic every year and form these opinions on like the second game of the year, and they think that's what's what, and it lingers. And then a team loses another game. The problem with national folks a lot of times is they don't focus on one team well enough to really have a great perspective on any team and up to their numbers and the metrics. They should win a lot of these games. Now, if they don't and they screw it up, that's a different conversation. But I've covered Michigan State on the bubble. In 2015, this team would beat the 2015 team in early February and late January without question. And certainly in 2021, a bubble team. 2017 bubble team. This isn't that team. This team is significantly better than those teams were at this point. This sort of backcourt is not a bubble backcourt. There's too much ability there, and there's too much on the resume that's solid, and the numbers bear that out. It's just not a bubble team.
But
ignore the bubble stuff.
Hypothetically, though, if they lose on Wednesday,
that metrically hurts you, even though they're on the road. They're not going to be the worst losses in the world, but they're not good losses. They were to lose those 2 games sort of off script in a row, we could have a different conversation, but that's not what's projected to happen. And so for anybody to take the snapshot now and see that Michigan State not as an NCAA tournament team is just absurd, and not to project them as an NCAA tournament team. And it's one thing to admit that maybe what you do is a snapshot of the present time and you're not using predictive metrics, which some of the bracketologists do. Jerry Palm does not. Don't listen to him. But if you're going to do that, you need to be very vocal in that. As long as it doesn't screw things up, it doesn't have to do anything extraordinary to be a decent seed in the tournament. I think 7-6 seed
You're trying to talk yourself into that 6 seed one, huh?
I'm still there. I'm still there. I'm still there.
I hope you're right.
It drives me nuts.
You're just a little worried about the Chad Latz bet, though.
Well,
that's back there.
There's always that fear.
Yes,
without question. What is your third hot take?
Well, I don't want to be a fuddy-duddy. I know that I don't drink anymore, but that doesn't mean I don't like fun. And I'm talking about the Waste Management PGA tournament that was in Phoenix yesterday. In the past 4 days, I should say. I don't want to sit there and be like, you can't drink. But they started cutting people off. I don't know if you watched any of it, Graham, but there's golfers people are like, what is this? Like, I want to watch John Rahm for a little bit because I do miss watching some of those guys, but I can't sit through it. They play like techno fucking music for hours. Like, dude, those guys are out there for 6+ hours. You're just constantly playing fucking EDM music or whatever it is. But anyway, I like the tournament. I like hole 16. But I've become a giant hypocrite in my old age. It's going to be 4 years in April. I haven't had a drink, and I hate people that get drunk and get hammered, which is, believe me, I know I'm a hypocrite with a capital H. But you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be all stuffy with khakis and shit, but do you have to really be just hammering drinks?
Well, I mean, the Waste Management is
going to change next year for sure.
Is famous for that, though, and that's what it's for.
But it's the par 3 16 where that's where you're supposed to go let loose.
Golf in February. Who cares?
Me.
Okay.
It was my hot take. Sorry.
Okay.
It just
It's like a bucket list thing for a lot of people to go there and get drunk and be an ass. Is it though? It is.
I saw it because you have to
it's like a bachelor party special
where they let you. Oh yeah, if I was younger, absolutely. But as a 40-year-old guy, do you really want to go deal with that, even if you drink still or whatever? I don't know. Just keep it to a hole 16 and let's just be cordial around. Let's not turn it into live or anything.
All right, my third take. Adam Nightingale, Michigan State hockey coach. Quickly trending up the pantheon of best coaching hires in MSU history.
He's trending, huh?
Certainly modern history. And, in modern times, it's Izzo for sure, 1, right, without question. D'Antonio, 2, because of the impact and it's football and doing what nobody had done. And then do you call Ron Mason modern times? You're talking end of the 70s, early 80s. Like, that's not really
he's just a legend.
But he's a legend, right? Those are good hires of a different era. But afterwards, and look, I know it's year 2. And in year 2 of a guy like Mel Tucker, everybody was like, what a hire. But there are differences between what Adam Nightingale has going with MSU hockey and what was the MSU football program in 2021 had an unbelievable running back, had some talent, did not have great depth. Everybody knew it. They were maximizing who they were. Michigan State hockey in 2 seasons is now 5 points up on the Big Ten race, probably the best conference in hockey. Now, they played 2 more games with Wisconsin, and Wisconsin plays next week. So eventually that'll be a really close race, probably going into the final series of the year in Madison. They've got 5 guys. Their leading scorer last year is now their 6th leading scorer, and he's on a similar pace to last year. They've got 5 guys scoring over him. Their 4th line is playing against Michigan's Beth's line, and they trust it. They've got a freshman goalie who's the youngest goalie in college hockey by a year and is been tremendous all season. They've got perhaps their first top 10 NHL draft pick since 1988. That's how quickly they've convinced people to be part of this program. Like, it is an unbelievable rise how quickly it's become number 5 in the pairwise rankings, in contention if they finish really strong still for a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. It's incredible. It's been a heck of a story, and I think the way it's been built, there's sustainability there. Because in college hockey, it is about relationships with advisors, developing players, and getting great talent to think that you can develop them and you are where they ought to be, and they're already doing that.
And yeah, it's amazing how quick of a turnaround, like Robin Freilich with the women's team, too. Like, it makes you wonder what was going on with the other people before them, right? Why couldn't you get the team motivated? It's just weird how quickly you can turn something around like that.
Well, and with women's basketball, Susie Merchant had a really good run, and it lost a little bit of steam at the end. But what it
lost a lot of steam.
Well, people weren't. Yeah, but it wasn't.
It's okay. We can talk about it.
No, it wasn't It wasn't
good.
It wasn't horrible. It wasn't like they were outside. They were still winning record every year. Hockey was at a different level of despair.
Yes.
To the point that nobody who's playing for them now remembers them being good before. Like it'd been really, 14 years, 13 years since they were consistently competitive. And that's a stretch that you just can't have. It's hard to recover from, and they've done it really quickly.
But how long can they keep Nightingale, though? If he starts popping off these great seasons, flipping Michigan State around, he's going to get offers, right?
In hockey, you don't see a lot of guys make that jump to the NHL. Now, he's been in the NHL already. And who knows if, you never know. Jeff Blashill left Western Michigan after one great year and wound up as an assistant in the NHL. I don't think Nightingale would go back to be an assistant in the NHL. This is his alma mater, his program. He seems to be having a lot of fun. He's got a staff he loves. Now, he may start to lose that staff, some of them. I think he'll be able to keep Will Morlock, who's the great strength and conditioning coach, but his two top assistants are just guys who have impressive resumes at this point. Somebody's going to hire them to build a program, but there aren't that many programs in college hockey. I wouldn't, and it's not like Michigan State. It's not like there are other college hockey programs that, when they're right, are better than Michigan State to go to and lead. This is a Big Ten campus. With good facilities now and a place you've got rolling, it's your alma mater. I don't think they have to worry tremendously about him leaving unless, an NHL head coaching job came along and that sort of thing would. But you don't see that a lot in college hockey, so I don't think you have to worry about it. You never know. But this has been a pretty impressive run, pretty quick. Are you ready to dig into the listener hot takes?
Yeah, man, let's do it. Eric Schultz up first, of course. The only way we'll know if this MSU team can truly make a run is if they beat Purdue and Mackey, win the Big Ten tournament, or lose a hard game to Purdue in the Big Ten tournament final. But regardless, Saturday was a really good and potentially important win. Bonus, MSU basketball 2001 to 2007 versus 2020.
So now. Yeah, sorry.
That's right. Big Ten win percentage, 64% versus 53%. All Big Ten first or second team players, 7 versus 1. Final Fours, 1 versus 0. Elite Eights, 2 versus 0. Second place conference finishes, 3 versus 0. You can't say things that are blatantly wrong and expect me to let it go, Graham.
I appreciate you, Eric. First of all, the number one, it was a good and important win. And the Purdue game is still fascinating for me because it is one of those games where you look at Michigan State's ceiling. You will not face a harder game in college basketball this year than at Purdue in Mackey Arena against that team in that matchup. And so you don't really have to win it. It is, as long as you take care of the rest of business, you're playing with house money. Now, it's an opportunity to really bump up the seed line. If you go into Mackey Arena and win, that's the best win in college basketball all year. Now, and if you won out, you'd be looked at like, are you talking 5 seed? That sort of thing. But
oh man, if that happens, I can't wait to read your column.
Eric,
you're gonna write it with your pants off.
Oh man, yeah, no, that's without question.
5 seed. Oh,
well, it's certainly my middle finger up to every bracketologist right now. And the funny thing is, I don't even care. I just care about people being that blatantly wrong and thinking they know. And I get that they're using formulas that, whatever. I'm just not happy about it. To his second point, though. I do respect this point, and I'll take my comeuppance when it's due. I think that the key is, though, when I sort of compare the stretch from 2001 to 2007 to parts of now, it is true when you throw 2004-05 in there, and they have the Final Four run, and they have that season, which I thought would be closer to this team. That comparison makes sense. But when you talk about one of the Elite Eights, well, last year was a Sweet 16. It was really close. Similar type deals, right? And you talk about the number of losses. They lost in 2002, 12, 2003, 13, 2004, 12. And so you look at the last 3 years, 13, 13, 13, not that far off from it. In 2005 and 6, 9, or 12 and 12. Again, there was a stretch there where things weren't that much better than they are now. It did not look like the program was necessarily on an elite trajectory is my point. But you are absolutely correct in correcting me.
Nick Steinholm up next. GC, you've stated multiple times that Izzo has had worse stretches earlier in his career. The fact is he hasn't.
Yeah.
MSU has lost more games, 39, through 2020 and through 2020 to 2023 than any other 3-year span in Izzo's tenure. Worse than his first 3 years, 36 losses. They'll exceed 36 losses from 21 to 24 also.
It's certainly his first 3 years are worse because of the 2 NIT years, right? And then even though you have the Sweet 16. But your point is made, but it's close. 13, 13, and 12, versus 12 losses. There were similar stretches of 3 years that have been like this before. I'm not saying this is a good stretch because from 2000, really, 2009 to 2019, for a decade, they were seriously in contention for a national championship, at worst, like every other year, which is a really great run. And this is not that. It hasn't been that. And the question is, can they get back to that?
Tyler up next. Let's take a moment to breathe and understand that the Lions would have won this game, would have won the Super Bowl, should have won it.
Peacock?
Yeah, I know, Tyler. That was my whole fucking weekend. I know.
Yeah.
Staring at the ceiling.
I don't know if they would have won it. But
bullshit. They would have. Dude, come on. You don't know that for sure. They would have competed.
They would have
been in that game.
They absolutely would have been in the game.
Shit.
Yep.
Oh, it's going to burn me forever.
So here's
a win next year.
Question for you, though, is I was having a conversation yesterday with somebody about the idea that they would prefer that the 49ers just beat the shit out of them and it wouldn't hurt so bad this week. This is where I disagree because at that point, though, it would feel like the dream was still a long way away, that there things had to be, you got to the conference title game, but you weren't really in contention.
What score are we talking, though? Give me a score.
Well, if it was like 34-10, you wouldn't want that. You'd rather what you had.
Yeah, but you're in year 3 of this regime. I think that I don't think I would be staring at the ceiling yesterday if they would have handled us, the 49ers, that is.
No, but next year you'd feel better about their chances next year.
I still would feel better going into this next season. It just would have taken away all of the despair, I think.
Yeah.
Being up 17. Thanks, though, Tyler. Riles, next. Gambling related. Never bet against Mahomes. He is inevitable. No, Taylor Swift is inevitable.
Mahomes is getting there, though. It is. Look,
no, he's there.
It's not saying that he can't be beaten, but certainly you don't want to bet against him.
But the line, it was so weird all week, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it being in Vegas and
it didn't move.
People, yeah, it was just bizarre.
Stuck it too, and everybody said Mahomes might do this, and yet they were still 2-point underdogs. And
everybody was picking the Chiefs, and they were still plus money on the money line.
It was weird. It was, it was strange.
NPC softball dad next. The win against Illinois guarantees they'll be an 8 to 9 seed and will play Kansas in Omaha. Bonus. Thank you for the Hoggard home game assist info.
I'm telling you right now, if you're looking for a prop bet to play, especially when it's 4.5, even 5.5 is good. But and a lot of times you can get Hoggard plus 8 assists or more at really high plus money. When he's playing at home, number one, his assist numbers in most years, it's been a good bet. But when he's playing at home, the assists, Michigan State is very friendly with assists. Very friendly with assists. And it's always a good bet to bet Hoggard's over on assists, especially now that there's no Jeremy Fears and Hoggard is the guy, especially down the stretch here. Hoggard over assist, whatever that assist total is a good thing to.
What about Akins? Akins at home, would you fade him, or is he better on the road? It just seems like at home he just gets off to slow starts. If you're betting, that is.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a couple games where he started hitting threes. I think Akins over 2 threes is starting to become or 1.5 threes would be something that I would look at. But I don't know if he's somebody I would trust and advise. And I don't pay it, I'm not going to bet Michigan State because I'm covering them. But it doesn't mean I won't give you advice as I see it. And one of the things we are going to have to talk about soon is I know at least one book put out the over-under for Michigan State football next year at 5.5. And if that's going to be the line that comes out everywhere, I think that's a pretty good play. It's not quite as good as the 4.5 in 2021. It was the easiest play. But to me, especially, not that Louisiana was much more likely a loss than Prairie View, but the idea that Michigan State, a new coach, there's something about new coach first years where you tend to maximize who you are a lot. And I really think Michigan State is going to at least get to 6 wins next year.
So why can't you, what's the reasoning behind not being able to gamble for a team you're covering? Like, are you going to
You shouldn't,
hey,
because
Jaden, I had you in the assist yesterday.
Well, but
what are you going to do?
That's sort of it.
With anger?
I mean, there are questions about whether it's ethical or not. But that's it. I can't be emotionally invested in Michigan State in ways beyond me covering the team. I have to be able to look at things clearly, have conversation. When they lose at Minnesota, I can't be personally offended because I had them, -3.
Can we just see what it would look like maybe against Penn State? Just fire a bet in to see if you write any different.
So I'm talking to Malik Hall in the locker room, like, listen, asshole, no, that's what you can't do. And I think that just it's my own sleep at night. I think
it's
you should do it.
better than Herb Street not being. He's not going to give his fucking pick without a point spread.
Well, I think that's stupid.
Covering the game at night.
Yeah, I'll talk about. I mean, gambling is such a big part of the sports vernacular now, and I'll talk about it all day. I'll give advice on Michigan State games, and I'll bet other games. I'm just not gonna bet the team I'm covering.
David Jackson next. I now have to somehow come back from being in a bad place when I wrote off the team and several top players after the Minnesota debacle. If both sucks and is gratifying to be proven so wrong, but all bets are off if we lose to Penn State. God, sometimes I hate myself. Bonus. Wisconsin playing MAC-level ball now is so typical of those damn cheeseheads when it's too late to do MSU any good.
This is the problem with metrics in the way college basketball is sometimes judged, though, is who Wisconsin was when Michigan State played them is not who they are now. And so the metrics should judge who they were. And how do you only judge who they were then? I mean, it's an imperfect system, right? Michigan State can be a maddening team, and A.J. Hoggard can be a maddening point guard. I do think the question is if they had not lost to Minnesota, Jason, if Tyson Walker doesn't get hurt, they don't lose to Minnesota, I don't think. And then do they still beat Illinois? Because I do think part of what happened to Illinois was an important response to what had just happened. And Hoggard handled it really well. He's hard not to like in those situations because here's a coach who's just ripping him, who's saying you're not the head of the snake, and that's what he calls every point guard and all this.
It's motivation.
All this stuff. Yeah, and Hoggard's just like,
motivation.
yeah, Hoggard's like, yeah. And then Hoggard shoves his coach in the chest, which is great to keep him off the court when he comes storming on to talk to Jay Nakins. He's like, this is my team. Get the fuck off. Like, I love, I am somebody who enjoys A.J. Hoggard. I think he is absolutely flawed as a point guard. I'm sure he has flaws as an individual. But I enjoy that he can take it from Izzo, and his temperament is ideal for that situation.
Andrew Gauthier up next. When Hoggard drops the confused, aloof look and gets that snarl going, bet MSU that night. Can you recall a team that has the ceiling this one does, but has a floor as low as this one has been? Bonus. It only makes it more painful to know the Lions would have won that game last night.
Yeah,
I know.
The good
Graham
news
doesn't think so.
Well, the good news is I don't know if Andrew watched it or not because Groovy Donuts. By the way, this is like Tuesday is Fat Tuesday. It's like
their Super Bowl.
It's Donut Super Bowl. I prefer National Donut Day in June, but it's their Super Bowl really. They are so busy right now. I don't know if they got to see the full game, which is probably better for them and for Monica. In terms of ceiling and floor with Michigan State, their floor isn't that. I mean, Minnesota
they play so bad though at times where it is bad.
I get it, but you lost a road game against a Minnesota team that's fighting for a place in the tournament and is the middle of the table and the Big Ten standings. I'm not saying Minnesota deserves to be in the tournament. They played a really bad non-conference schedule. Some of their wins are inflated, and I don't blame them for doing that. The program's been really down. They needed this sort of season with wins and other things, but it's not a bad Minnesota team, and that's not a bad floor loss. They really haven't had a loss on where you go. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, to me, losing at, and even though road games are home games, losing at Penn State would be more of a, given the matchup and everything. Losing at Michigan, even though it's a rivalry. These two games this week are games that, they might be close because you're on the road, but you ought to find a way to win both of them.
Chris Eastlick up next. Games like Saturday and the Baylor game are probably why the fan base has so much frustration this year. You clearly see how good they can be, and then they'll have a 2-point loss to someone they should have beat by 10 plus. Bonus. They made them when they counted against Illinois, but this might be one of the worst Izzo teams I've seen at the free throw line.
It's weird because they're not naturally all bad free throw shooters. Like Tyson Walker is a good free throw shooter, and sometimes he doesn't hit them.
Can we talk about the refs on Saturday?
They were bad.
I mean, come on. You can't talk shit anymore to a crowd.
That one silver-haired dude was...
If you hit a bucket, you can't... I know, because the crowd probably, starts heckling, right? You can't just turn around and be like...
Well, here's where that silver-haired guy screwed up. Because... And I don't even know his name, and I should, but
Scott Foster Sr.
Coleman Hawkins who turned and got the crowd's
Hawkins?
taunting you. No, but he turns and just holds his arms up at the MSU crowd or whatever. And
Right.
That's fine. That should be 100%. That should be part of the fun of this.
Yeah, what are we
Don't
doing?
kill the fun of this. But the problem then afterward is he was forced to call the technical on Jaden, who I talked to in the locker room about it, and Jaden said it wasn't just – Izzo keeps saying it was just the gesture. Jaden said he said something. And he knew it right away. He dropped his head. But Izzo had warned them, like, after that, you can't say anything. And then the problem was Underwood, the Illinois coach, is, like, begging the ref right there, like, hey, you have to – the ref was in a spot now because he just called it on the other team for a similar thing. He had to call it, and that's why you don't call it the first one. But, yeah, the reffing overall I didn't think was that good. I thought otherwise it was a pretty –
So brutal. What, 54 free throw attempts?
Pretty
by both teams.
well-played game. Yeah.
JD next. This MSU team will go as far as the best center of the day will take them. Carson Cooper did it awesome, swallowing up Hawkins and getting Illinois out of sorts on offense. And bonus, I apologize for making the Rube so upset with my Brad Holmes question in the last show. Los deserves to get roasted, of course. Otherwise, just thought the I told you so's were a bit premature. Yeah, if it were anyone else, I could understand. But even then, I mean, Brad Holmes had a hell of a rookie class. I mean,
He did.
You drafted pretty much all the right guys. So
I agree with JD that not that Holmes hasn't deserved it, and not that Los doesn't deserve to be roasted.
Los, though.
Right, but also that, like, the best look is to just let your work speak for yourself. That's
Fuck
all.
That
That's
you let your work show and then give Los some shit. What is this? Come on. Why are we protecting this guy, Monterez?
Well, I'm not.
Gives a shit.
I don't care
He's
about
written
Monterez. I'm
shit
not
for years.
I'm not protecting.
Now we're sitting there going, oh man, Brad Holmes really stepped out of bounds. Fuck that.
I am not protecting fellow Gannett employee Los Monterez. Like, he can hold.
You
can
know
hold his
that
own.
he's written shit for years, and now we're all because Brad Holmes said, "Hey, listen, MFer, how about you write something about this?"
I'm not
if
saying
it were like Burkett or something, I could get it, but like.
I'm just saying, period. It's always best to let your work do this talk for you. That's the loudest you can speak.
David Cox next. A.J. Hoggard's best game of the year comes as Matty Sissoko gets his least amount of minutes in a game. Is this a coincidence? I don't think so. Jackson and Cooper present more offense and better picks off a pick and roll, making it easier to drive. Lo and behold, 20-plus points for Hoggard.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bad matchup, especially for Sissoko, and we saw it at Illinois. He just, he struggles with Coleman Hawkins, and he's not somebody who can make you pay on the offensive end, and it's a really awful matchup. So I thought they did a good job of recognizing that and not leaning into Sissoko too much, which is something they need to do the rest of the way. To go to JD's point, the center of the day, so to speak, a lot of this is going to come down to certain matchups, who's looking better. I think more Jackson Kohler is good. I think he's playing better and he didn't even score all that well. I just thought he played pretty well on Saturday. Cooper was very effective at times. And so it's recognizing it early. There were points in the Minnesota game before Mady Sissoko decided to travel on every time he touched the ball that he was pretty good rebounding. He was their best rebounder, and you have to recognize that too. It's a tricky thing because you don't have a perfect center. You don't have the obvious answer every game. You're playing from a deficit there. And that is what it is at this point, and the only thing you can do about it is try to pick the best player for the best matchup and recognize when it's not working or somebody's
You can't
playing
put them all
better.
together. Just take a little bit of each one, Kohler, Cooper, and Mady.
That would be ideal. It
Great.
cannot be done.
MC Hammer Legos up next. I think it's fair to say Hoggard's is Izzo's biggest enigma as a player. He hasn't found a way to consistently motivate him, and that makes him angry. When we need AJ, like in the NCAA tournament last year, he shows up huge. Seems like he might just have a focus issue that is hard to tap.
One of the things I think should give, and I do think gives fans some hope, is that they do think Hoggard will show up in the big games. Hoggard likes the big games. Hoggard versus prime LeBron James, Hoggard thinks he's the better option, right? His irrational confidence is one of his strengths, right? It is.
And I kind of need that, right? That confidence a little bit.
And I respect it. As a delusional athlete myself,
I was about to say.
yeah, I respect it. I like it. And it's one of the things I like about him. And but I also think you need it. I think sometimes in games where you don't win every matchup, or a team looks like they athletically might have you, to have a guy who thinks, not only do I belong, but I'm the best guard on the floor, and I can take over this game, in certain ways. When he plays within himself still, I think is really important. And we saw what he did against Kansas State. And that had they won that game, that would have been a really big moment in his career and how he's thought of.
Some dude up next, take on Tyson Walker. Couch, you've been saying that we knew he was going to be great this year because he's a great player. I totally agree, but I must say that he's still been able to take it up another notch from last year. He deserves to be an all-time MSU great, but we need a deep tourney run for that to happen. And bonus, how do the MSU and OSU women's hoops teams end up wearing the same uniforms in that game?
It was weird. One had a silver, and they were both wearing pink lining because it was like it was the pink out day or whatever. And then one was like this light silver and one was white. And I think on TV it was probably tricky. You got used to it, sitting courtside. You were close enough.
Play-by-play guys, like, what the fuck is happening? Why are you guys doing this to me?
Not easy to differentiate the teams. It was not ideal. To the Tyson Walker point, you do want it. Like, for a while, he was averaging 20 a game, and I'm not saying that part's necessary. What you really want to see from him, though, is getting healthy, because I think that groin injury has bugged him, and it has limited him, and he's trying to play through it.
He looked all right Saturday. That's
what's amazing. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had a groin injury. I know
I've pulled it once or twice.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was well played.
70,000 times.
Yeah, but if you've ever had an actual groin injury that wasn't caused by masturbation, it's painful as hell.
I'm sure.
And it's hard to play through, and to have one that you tweak regularly and is so yeah. But there is another level for him, and I do think he can still, reach a level of consistency. Although he's pretty damn good. I think the thing about this team is I have no doubt that that Tyson Walker will be star level in the big moments if he's healthy. It's the other guys. It's Hoggard. Will he be? It's the play of Akins and Hall. It's the less consistent guys. I mean, Hall really put Michigan State on his back for a minute there against Illinois. He was terrific, and he started to do that more and more and more. He's had very few bad nights out, and a lot of it is just grit and like, screw it, this is my time. We're going to get this done. And those guys are really important to have. That's, as I like to call it.
Did you say the G word?
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I did.
Yeah, could have won that Super Bowl. Ken Chu next. MSU men's basketball will finish ahead of Wisconsin in the Big Ten. And bonus, Usher is a pretty good roller skater.
He was good.
I didn't see it.
I'm glad roller skates are coming back, by the way, because
why?
Because rollerblades.
Do you have a pair?
Yeah. Well, no, I have rollerblades. But
where we need. That's the next couch in the Rube Hang.
Roller skating rink?
Skate rink. Yeah,
I like it.
Ed Drew over here.
Roller skates are better than rollerblades. They're not as you can go faster on rollerblades in some ways, but they're more fun. They're more stable. It's easier. You naturally stop in the front, which is an easier thing than trying to stop in the back, and you almost always fall. I mean, I'm telling you. I mean, I have a pair of good rollerblades that my mother purchased for me. They're very expensive.
From 1993?
No. So here's what happens. I had these rollerblades in like high school, right? Forever.
Yep.
And I didn't wear them enough, so I just had it. My mom likes to rollerblade with me. We do it like once a year on Mother's Day.
Still?
Yeah, we go to the YMCA in west side of Lansing, the old Apple Sportsplex on the rink, and we just chat and skate for like an hour and a half. It's great, great time.
Wow.
But she was starting to realize that I was in a lot of pain, and I was going a lot slower, and my rollerblades just sucked, and they were old. But I was not going to pay for it, so she bought me a really nice pair of rollerblades just so I could go skating with her once a year indoors. It's
so you guys just circle around?
Yeah.
You grab your mom's hand and kind of spin her around?
I don't spin my mom, but we just circle around and chat. Now, it used to be something when I didn't live in town. This when it started, and I would come up, and it was kind of a fun outing. But and now we go on like a walk a day, so we don't really have much to say to each other anymore. But she still has her stories, and I listen. And
that's sweet, man.
Yeah, so I
love it.
But yeah, no, I to the other point though, Wisconsin, I was sure that Michigan State was going to be below Wisconsin in the standings. The fact they've lost 4 in a row now.
Yeah,
it's I don't know what's going on there. I haven't watched much of them in this loss or in this losing streak. So hold on, let me look up the Big Ten standings real quick.
All right.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me.
So it's really interesting because Wisconsin is 8-5, Michigan State 7-6, and Now, Wisconsin has the 2 wins over Michigan State, so they'll win any single tiebreaker. But Wisconsin still has some road. I mean, they still got Illinois at home. They've got still got road games in Iowa and Indiana. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I like. Yeah, it could be close.
Can they turn it around? That's a pretty decent losing streak there.
Yeah, and Michigan State only having if Michigan State having Purdue left, a game they're probably going to lose, means they would have to make up 3 games on Wisconsin to really jump them in the standings. And I don't think that happened, but I don't know what's going on there for sure.
Pigskin Scoop up next. Chip Kelly leaving UCLA to become Ohio State's offensive coordinator is a perfect example of how difficult coaching is in the NIL era.
This one was weird, and the first real coach
he wanted out of UCLA, man. Get me out of here.
I mean, not even an NFL coordinator job. Like, I'm going to go in the same conference now and be a coordinator. Now, Ohio State's is, probably top dollar for a coordinator.
But is Chip Kelly like a coach that he could get another head coaching gig, though?
I think he wants to go to the NFL. I think he wants a coordinator job there and maybe another shot there. I don't think he wants to recruit, and I bet he doesn't have to at Ohio State. Sometimes when you bring in these big coordinators, they're not really doing a whole lot of the recruiting on the road. It's probably a better gig, and I think UCLA is frustrating. You don't have a fan base. You don't have people come out to the Rose Bowl in season. They have shitty crowds. They're having trouble raising money with NIL. It is a problem in this new era, and there are coaches who just don't want to be a part of it. The Boston College coach was like, screw them out. That's a hard place to raise
But he took the
money.
defensive coordinator position for Green Bay. I mean,
but you didn't used to see that. To get a head coaching job at a division, it used to go the other way. Nick Saban went from defensive coordinator at Cleveland to Michigan State head coach. That used to be to get a head coaching gig at a power. Now I understand Boston College is kind of the lowest tier of the Power 4, Power 5 rung, but still, you didn't used to see that. And I think that there are certain jobs, certain places where it's just going to be really hard to compete, and not overly emotional about home wins is a really smart thing, because that's not really where the truth is.
Well, when you're 1-5 on the road, though, it's pretty simple.
But everybody's 1-5 on the road. Like, find me
Doesn't
a team
make it right.
Well, the road is hard, and these are 20-year-olds. Well, actually, they're all 23 right now in college basketball, but they get influenced. The refs get influenced by it. The road is really hard. Now, the postseason is not played on the road, which is probably helpful for MSU.
Richard Kane next. That was the dullest Super Bowl in a long time. And bonus, if that version of A.J. Hoggard shows up in March, MSU is a legit Final Four contender.
Yeah.
Well, there you go then.
Still matchup dependent. Like, if they're an 8 seed and they face a 1, there could be, might not be great. But somebody brought up the idea of playing Kansas. Kansas doesn't shoot the ball that well. Michigan State certainly knows how to deal with Hunter Dickinson, who's a tough matchup for them. But like Michigan State versus Kansas, Kansas isn't a team Michigan State can't beat. I mean, it's not a bad 1-8 matchup if it wound up being the case. Dullest Super Bowl in a long time. I didn't think it was dull. I mean, overtime, it was dull for a while.
I mean, since they kept bringing up the Rams, the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl was 13-3. Something like that. I mean, it was boring. There was a lot of punts, and they couldn't get anything going for 3.5 quarters. But the end, you got to take the whole game into account, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to sit through some ass, but that was a pretty crazy ending.
It was an argument to have some money on the under, because if you have money on the under, you enjoy boring.
Yeah, but it still blows.
Not if you have enough money on the under.
Yeah. Russell B. next. The Spartans' win on Saturday was the biggest win of the season. And bonus, the 49ers' loss will make it even tougher for the Lions to make it to the Super Bowl next season.
How do you figure? Because the 49ers will be motivated? Is that – I don't – because sometimes the Super Bowl loser has a hangover. I don't know that will make a difference.
It's usually one of the teams, right, has a hangover.
And I think – Kansas City, it doesn't sound like Kelsey's going to retire, though, at least the way he sounded on the podium. And I think as long as he's around, like, they're trying to milk this group as much as they can get out of it. I don't think Kansas City's going to lose focus. They want to win 3 in a row and be the first team to do it. So, but the 49ers, you never know. And injuries, McCaffrey's not been a guy who stays healthy, and when he's hurt, they're a very different team. So who knows if they'll be back. And they lose one of their best defensive players with Achilles. He'll be out all next year now. That was a weird injury, too.
BF9 Fingers up next. Red Panda as the halftime performer for the Super Bowl would be way better than most of the hot garbage that has been put out there the last few years. Also, mixing some Zeke the Wonder Dog and people will lose their shit. Why not? I don't know. I wouldn't have watched it either way.
Red Panda, every time Red Panda's there, I worry about Red Panda because she's getting older and less consistent. And
so she should slow down the kicking plates with her foot up on a...
in fact, we haven't seen her this year at Breslin. Maybe she's not doing it anymore. There were a few more getting dropped than usual last year. I was getting a little concerned about Red Panda. I would like to see her do a Super Bowl before her time is up. That would be...
Yeah, but what if she drops some plates? You're going to be sitting there with your...
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure to the Super
I think
Bowl.
she dropped a little too many plates there.
Yeah.
Jesus. Corey Ostrom next. Jackson Kohler's minutes should increase threefold if MSU fancies a March Madness run. Aside of Hall, he's the only threat in the post that will draw attention off the wings and allow for more outside opportunities. He also could use the mid-range jumper and three to draw the defense.
Jackson Kohler would make a really good muskox flannel model when I think about it.
Yeah, he's got that mohawk thing.
Yeah, kind of. You got that boyish but athletic look with the mohawk, and obviously they're taller big and tall offerings, but would be pretty good. By the way, you can get their new spring offerings, which are just out. If you go to gomuskox.com/spring to view their new collection. And again, the promo code HOFF, HOFF, for $15 off your first flannel purchase. Look, you know how we feel about muskox. You've seen how I look in real life. You've seen me in a muskox. There's a massive difference. You, too, can have this massive difference. You can be hideous and then beautiful in the same day just by putting on a muskox flannel. Go to gomuskox.com/spring. To the Jackson Kohler point, I think more Kohler is good. I think he's shown some things defensively in terms of being able to hang in there. And is he their best defensive center? No. But the other guys aren't so much better than him that it makes a huge difference. Like if you had a real defensive stalwart, then it would make sense to play him less. I think getting him, 13 minutes, and it felt like more against Illinois. I think getting Kohler in that 12 to 15-minute range a game.
Mistake. The Super Bowl halftime show needs captions, so old farts like me know how the people on stage are. Other than Usher, I didn't know anyone.
Usher's getting up there in years. How old do you think Usher is?
He's 40-something.
Is that all he is? Hold on.
All he is. How? You think he's been around since the 70s?
I don't know. My wife said he was old, and I took offense to that. He's 45. Yeah. Okay. He's not that old. What? My wife doesn't know anything. Captions so they can... when Ludacris, shows up, not everybody knows who that is. Although he's one of those. He's more of our.
To know?
He's more our generation.
Right, though. Do you need to know?
No.
Nah.
No. With Booker, though, the Illinois game, you kind of had a feeling that was going to be intense, and you just can't afford to lose possessions. I thought he played pretty decently at Minnesota. I would be surprised if he doesn't play at Penn State and doesn't play against Michigan, and then Ohio State and Iowa the same. I think these next 4 games are Xavier Booker games, and he ought to play in each of them.
Was he watching the game by himself? I mean, you couldn't say, who is that? Does someone sit next to you?
What do you mean?
Like he said he couldn't. He needed closed caption to find out who was on the stage. I mean, are you watching the game with other people where you could go, hey, who is that?
Well, sometimes you don't want to ask, or sometimes it is two old farts.
So you're embarrassed, but you'll ask it on a Twitter question.
Well, I can picture 2 people in their 60s watching it and go, I don't have a fucking clue.
Who is that?
But it's not for you.
Jarrett next. The Saturday to Monday schedule for the Big 12 and ACC is one of the biggest reasons why the Big 10 does poorly in the NCAA tourney. Not use the quick turnaround games.
Not used to the I disagree to this because Michigan, the Big 10 plays plenty more, pretty regularly. And Michigan State, for example, is famously good on the second game of a weekend under Tom Izzo. That's one of their strengths, right? Is they prepare for the weekend and they, the coaches are already looking at the next team, even if the players aren't, and they prep all night after that first game, and they've always been great at it. Now, I don't know if there's a ton of that there, but certainly the Big Ten had a period where they had great centers, great big men, and that did not translate into the postseason. They were kind of lumbering teams, and they were played through big guys, and quicker, more athletic teams hurt them. Illinois will be an example. Illinois looks more like a traditional Pac-12 team than they've got our Big 12 team. I think Illinois is built for the NCAA tournament if they get the right guard play and hit enough shots, and Terrence Shannon obviously makes a difference. And Purdue is just so good now that they've got Braden Smith, a sophomore, is like an all-conference guard level player, and Zach Edey is so good. There's no excuses left for that team.
Jumping kitten kisses next. If Chip Kelly and Bill O'Brien were available 2 months ago, does State have a different football coach? And bonus. Super Bowl logos on the 25-yard lines were confusing for the first half. People kept thinking teams were at the 50-yard line.
I wasn't. Were you confused?
How high were you then? I mean, I was pretty good.
It was a Pure Options promotion if I've ever seen one. Yeah.
I missed a lot though because there was talking going on.
Where were you at? What were
home. We were at home.
When you say talking, was Therese talking to you?
No. Therese had her sons over, and then they brought girlfriends and friends and whatever. So we had about 7 or 8 people, and the game was boring. And so there was a lot of things I didn't see because my friend Jordan, he actually texted me. He's like, "You watching these people running on the field in black clothing?" I'm like, "I didn't see any of that. What are you talking about?"
I've been there. I hosted a Super Bowl party when I lived in Freeport, Illinois, and I invited our 84-year-old food writer, Olga, and our historian, Harriet, who was in her late 70s at the time. By the way, these two women were funny as hell. They were great to have in the newsroom. They brought over the best food. When you're like in your early 20s, you don't know how to cook anything, and you invite Olga and Harriet, the 84-year-old food writer, the spreads that they brought, they made the fucking party. It was great, but I also missed. That was the year Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson and the nipple showed.
Did you say, "Hey, did you ladies see that shit"?
I missed it because I was talking to Olga and Harriet. I was looking at a couple 75 and 80-year-olds. Yeah, it was not.
Is that a titty?
That is a story not worth telling, but I did anyway. Thank you, Jason. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing. A great place for any occasion. Great place to watch a game too, and a great place to hang with us this Saturday. February 17th, 2 o'clock live show, Couch in the Rube. Hope to
Isn't
see
everyone
you
over the age of 70? Aren't they a historian? Doesn't that make you a?
But that was
you know what I mean?
Her role in the newsroom. She wrote about like the history of the
Did you just fire questions at her to see her test her knowledge.
She knew a lot. Olga was great. Olga would come in. She was like old school. She would go home and make her husband soup for dinner or whatever, and then come back and work all night on deadline. Like it was just the sports writers.
Guy can't make his own fucking soup. What is he, an invalid or something?
I don't know. Well, he might have been pretty old.
Oh,
and she would come back and she would work late, and then she would always print out. She couldn't read her emails on her screen because it was her eyes weren't great, so she would print them all out. But she always did it right on deadline. So I'd be like waiting for page proofs to proof like the cover of the sports section before we send it out on deadline, and I'm waiting behind like 37 Olga emails at the printer, and she would always apologize.
Sometimes I regret the follow-up question. I think that might have been one.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you're not alone.
Matt Venny next. NFL players should list all the schools they went to via the transfer portal during game intros. Putting guys in the league is big for recruiting, and the schools who recruit and develop a guy for 3 to 4 years and are being screwed by them going elsewhere for a year is complete ass. And bonus, nobody likes the Chiefs.
I don't mind the Chiefs. The Chiefs aren't hateable to me. I don't mind them. Do you hate them?
I don't. I think Mahomes is a good dude. His wife drives me nuts, but, Brittany Mahomes and his whole family. But, other than that, off the field shit, sure.
Yeah. No, I don't mind.
Guys on the field. Travis Kelce seems like a nice dude. It's just, I don't care.
It would be weird if players had to, like, list all the places they went and all their stops at this point be like 4 different places. I don't think the
Some
NFL
of the players don't even do
it.
They just say their high school.
Or their hometown or whatever,
right.
Yeah. To the we never answered the question from Jumping Kitten Kisses about Chip Kelly and Bill O'Brien available 2 months ago. Does Michigan State hire a different coach? I don't think so. First of all,
I would be depressed.
Yeah.
Either one of those guys.
Bill O'Brien, you'd like more probably than, Kelly had a decent run. But those guys are retreads.
But would you get excited about Chip Kelly? I mean, I know he's an offensive mastermind and all that, but do you really feel confident he can take you
and place
next level?
And those guys have, especially Kelly, has been someplace where it didn't work. After he was cutting edge a long time ago, and he's of an age that wouldn't be. I think Jonathan Smith was. Now, if UCLA and Washington had opened up earlier, like how interested is Jonathan Smith in those jobs? He grew up in Pasadena. Like, would he see the UCLA job as a winnable job? Now, UCLA has its pitfalls, and so does Oregon State, and that might be something that he saw. The Michigan State still might have wound up with him, but that would have been interesting.
Matt Venny, Did I read that one? Sports Guy 1919. Any 5-yard defensive penalty being an automatic first down is total BS. It could be 3rd and 25, and the ref throws a ticky-tack defensive hold that probably goes on all game anyways, and all of a sudden the offense gets fresh downs.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying here, but on the other hand, they don't get to go very far. It's some ways it's a really fair penalty. It's probably more fair than sometimes the pass interference where it's like a 50-yard penalty when it's a long bomb and they get tripped up and the team gets to go way down there. But you're right. When it's 3rd and long and there's but a hold is a hold. Like the defensive holding call in this game that I think you're referring to was clearly a defensive holding call. I mean, it was the defensive back
and
grabbed him around the waist.
At least it goes 5 yards, and you can. I know it's a new, fresh set of downs, but if you're still on their side of the field,
yeah, it's not so punitive,
right? C-Dubs 91 next. With all the TV money college sports gets, leagues should pay to have full-time officials, and they should be given games based on game ratings, relegation style. Can't have big games like Saturday so horribly officiated. And bonus, Tony Romo's singing his ass.
I saw some people criticizing Romo. I really liked his broadcast for the most part. His singing, not great. Early in the game, I didn't think he was great, but I thought he was
singing. I missed that one too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was
Hoff? Was he singing Hoff?
That was amazing. If he did Hoff, I would have given him 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I know people despise him, but I don't see enough of him. I guess because I have Red Zone, and he doesn't do Lions games that often. So
I really liked how he described the was it the game-winning? Wasn't the game-winning? Yeah, it was a game-winning touchdown. There are a few things he really broke down. One moment where Purdy should not have used a timeout and should have just switched the play because he had the matchup he wanted. Like there were times where I thought he was really good at explaining things.
But people aren't mad at when he explains things. I think when he gets that high-pitched voice, Jim, hey, Jim, can you see that, Jim? Like that probably, I think, bothers people.
But it might have been Andrew
He's talking X's and O's. He's fine, right?
Andrew Marchand or people just kind of ripped him a little bit. And I don't know. I thought he was really good. It's easy to be a critic. And I get that I do that for a living in a sense, so I understand the hypocrisy. But I'm nothing if not a hypocrite.
Kurt Wisniewski next. The Super Bowl was great. I do not understand all the hate regarding Kelsey and Swift. As a father of 2 girls, it was great to hear their excitement for football and this game. If it's because of Swift and Kelsey, so be it.
Yeah, I don't mind anything that brings more people in. I also have gotten to a point in life where I've tried to very much not shit on what other people like. If you like something, good for you.
Yeah,
if
you can still shit on it. You have to preface it with saying that, and then you can shit on it.
Then you can shit on it, right?
Right.
But it doesn't hurt me. Kelsey and if you don't enjoy Kelsey and Swift, it doesn't hurt you.
I don't think it's them. It's more of when you watch a NFL game, the things you have to go through and the things you see in the commercial breaks. And I'm not talking about the Super Bowl. I'm talking about the minute-long commercials that depress the shit out of you, or the St. Jude ones. So I think people are going like, oh, great, now I got to see Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift do the heart thing at each other. But I think a majority of the people just don't. I mean,
they don't mind it. You either like it or you don't mind it. But by the way, new show alert. You know how the Equalizer was like a post-Super Bowl thing that apparently existed?
Yeah.
The Tracker, it's called, or just Tracker, debuted last night after the Super Bowl. I watched the whole thing. I was, on my treadmill and trying to get my fat ass in shape. And it's got Justin Hartley, who was on This Is Us. Okay. If anybody remembers,
how's he doing?
No, anyway, it was a really good show. I watched the debut episode. I'm in. I'm all in. It's a great time. If you have a good show, it's a great time to debut a show. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to make that a hot take, so I just included it late in the show.
Thank God. Yeah. Jeff Peterson next. Travis Kelce's histrionics on the sideline will prove to be the tipping point for Tay-Tay as she will move on by summer. Bonus, nobody, and I mean nobody, gives a rat's ass behind about Swift and Kelce.
I think you're wrong. I mean, you may not, Jeff, but there are a lot of people who do, and there are a lot of people, a lot of people who are Swifties, so to speak, who and I don't mind it. I find it fun. I find the whole thing fun.
It's fun.
Yep.
You find it fun.
I find it fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Alpha Brett next. Andy Reid should have bitch slapped Travis Kelce when he got in his face.
That was a moment.
Did I not watch the Super Bowl?
I feel like
I missed that. I watched it on Twitter, but I missed that shit too. Where was I?
I think this is what happens when you're in big groups. And,
totally. If it were a better game, I think I don't know. But it's just tough when you have that many people in the living room and I feel like you got to entertain.
Whenever you get distracted, I'll give you an example. If I'm at a game, even a game I'm covering, and I have to work on another story, I'm like, I'm too much going on. I will sometimes, even though I'm watching the game, 20 minutes will pass and I'll be like, I don't understand what's happening in this game. Like, I can't write about it because I don't understand why things are happening. I'm not like when anything distracts you and you're not fully engrossed, you just miss.
And by the way, isn't Travis Kelce everyone because of that stupid commercial? That's the State Farm one Andy Reid's in with his stupid nuggies.
Speaking of commercials, did you see any of the commercials last night?
Well, yeah, I saw a few.
Did you see the Dunkin' Donuts one with Ben Affleck and J-Lo? That was good. I liked that. That was good. That was really good.
Yeah, but they're 50 now. Like, I get Ben Affleck still trying to do the thing where he's a funny guy.
But it was really funny.
But every picture you see in the fucking tabloids, you see him just pissed off with Jennifer Lopez.
The fact that Matt Damon was all like, I can't believe I agreed to this.
But fuck him, too.
It was great.
But last year he did that, was it last year when he did the Bitcoin thing, the something favors the brave? I don't know. Those guys, it's like, all right, you guys did it.
I don't know. Tom Brady he was good. I thought the whole thing was good. I wish
enough of Tom Brady too. Jesus,
Christopher Walken one where everybody was impersonating him could have been great. It was a really good commercial. Would have been great if at the end when they brought Usher in, Usher had also tried to impersonate Christopher Walken. That would have been funny. And somehow they blew it. They didn't go with that.
I would love to see you pitch that to Usher.
I will.
That would have been great.
I would happily do it.
Sparty and GL.
Wear a muskox while you're doing it.
The Tigers get started this week. I say they make it into the postseason play. Hold on. We haven't played this in a long time. Wait, I don't have it? Shit. Hold on. Go ahead.
All right.
I don't have it. Where did the Tigers one go?
Oh, my God.
Go ahead.
That's not good. It's the beginning. We'll have to get that back. Yeah, no, it is. I tell you what, seeing like videos of just pitchers and catchers playing long ball toss is really good for the soul. I don't know. There's something about the beginning of spring training.
It's fucking depressing. It means football's over. I love baseball, but I'm not excited about watching them toss a ball around.
But I'm kind of excited about the Tigers this year. I'm kind of intrigued, at least. I'm hoping.
Just miserable today, I think.
Yeah, that too.
Mr. Benjen, resurrect PPTPW. That is the identity and mentality this MSU basketball team needs to have. And bonus, we'd be better off with freshman year high flying Jaden Akins than this version.
I don't know what PPTPW is. Tough. It's not tough players play. I don't know. It's like when people put the CMT for Coach Mel Tucker. I fucking hate that stuff. You guys spell it out. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is. Jaden Akins is a lot better player now than he was as a freshman, and they need his outside shooting, which he didn't have. Like he is a much more potent outside shooter. Saw it at times against Minnesota. We've seen it repetitively. They need the guy he is now. Now, as a freshman, there were some times where he was grabbing rebounds you don't always see now for whatever reason, but you'd still rather have this guy. I think if you went back and watched a game with Jaden Akins, he was a little bit romanticized back then because he was a freshman and he walked on air a little bit the way he jumped and all that stuff. And trust me, I'm the one who wrote that crap all the time about him. Crap, that's the wrong word. But I wrote about him gliding all the time like that he was some mystique, I don't know. I know what I'm talking about.
Sean Krager. MSU basketball and hockey restored my sports sanity on Saturday. And bonus, the environment at the duel in the D was incredible.
Wish I had been there. And I was going to go, if Michigan State had lost to Illinois, I was going to drive down and do a column from there after the quick takes. And the Michigan State-Illinois game wound up being really interesting, so I stayed and wrote that. But MSU hockey is, you get like 18,000, 19,000 people at LCA for a college hockey game, and they're playing really well to sweep Michigan the way they did. They're in a really good place, and they're going to be fun this March. Michigan State fans are going to have one more thing that's going to be a lot of fun this March, and I'm happy for people about that.
Max Spade next. Fill us in on the MSU hockey storylines and where and how we can watch these games on TV. And bonus, what should happen when the same woman wins all 4 quarters in our office squares?
Well, first of all, it's incredible that could actually happen.
You ban her from next year.
Yeah. For the hockey, though, hold on, I'm trying to pull up the schedule here. I apologize. The storylines are really interesting. I mean, I got into this earlier, but, the fact that, that they have such a high draft pick, that they're so deep, that they've got, they're averaging 4 goals a game, and, with Trey Augustine, you've got, a great young goalie, and that they're 5 points ahead of Wisconsin right now, for the Big Ten lead, and it's the best league in college hockey. I mean, there's so much good happening with that team. How you can see them play is often tricky, though. Against Ohio State and Wisconsin, their final 2 series, and they don't play this coming weekend. They're at home for their Big Ten plus 4 straight games. Big Ten fucking plus. I mean, that I am going to do a column on this.
On how bad Big Ten plus is?
Well, just how ridiculous it is, unless they decide to move it, because they do have hockey scheduled, and it's a different series on the final series of the year. But the games at Wisconsin need to be on regular Big Ten network. Those games are for the Big Ten title on March 1st and 2nd. Those cannot be Big Ten plus games. The Big Ten needs to either change how it televises it or disband and let college hockey go back to the bus leagues and the great leagues it once had with the CCHA and WCHA. If you're going to have the Big Ten, at least treat it properly, and they're not doing that right now.
Max Spade up next. Phyllis, we read that. Mr. Neurotic Pants. MSU football should either stop playing FCS teams or play them exclusively in the preseason. 1, there is no merit to beating the hell out of such a team in terms of rank, establishing the team's street cred. And if by chance MSU loses, it would be the butt of jokes for decades. See Appalachian State. I guess it's a favor to small programs. Bonus, since the Big Ten is debatably the best conference, MSU should outdo Michigan in the preseason and gorge on cupcakes, including 1 or 2 FCS teams.
So 1 or 2 ways. Look, the Prairie View A&M is a bad FCS level team. That's not great. Now, I understand they were in a last-second deal and had to schedule somebody, and that's who had an opening. I don't blame them for this. You don't want to bring in Prairie View A&M most years. That's just not a competitive game. That could be really
Why not?
ugly.
It's good to have like a 52-0 game. Start the season off.
It is one of those games where the spread will be like 46, and you take Michigan State to cover, like most likely. And there's enough tough games around there and interesting trips. And I'm not saying you can't have a cupcake, but there is a level of cupcake, and the SEC does this a lot right before their rivalry games at the end of the year where they play FCS, where it's just not fun. Like, you want a cupcake.
But the teams, the universities that play them need the money, right?
They do, but there's a difference between playing Southern Illinois University, an FCS program, and Prairie View A&M, and there's a substantial difference. And like, this is deep below the level of the MAC. It's going to be hard to watch or assess anything. The 3 quick takes.
It would suck to be a Prairie View fan right now if you're listening to this podcast.
Well, you do fine in your own league and your own level, but this is not. It's
way below the MAC.
It's not. Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
DMB next. Solari already on the FOIA for outgoing MSU football staffer buyouts. Shocking. Where are the FOIAs for CMU with Stallions? No FOIA for Weiss. Search warrant a year later. Couch owes the people a tattoo, not some waffling blue wall excuse.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some Weiss coverage, but and last time, people really got on us or on me for there not being Weiss coverage, and I went and found some stories that have been done. I don't think people read everything that's being written about Michigan. Maybe they do. The CMU Stallion story needs to be done, but Solari is doing his job. He is not there to be a cheerleader for Michigan State, and he is absolutely doing his job. And if you want a cheerleader, there are people who are cheerleaders who cover the team, and you can. And you can follow them, and they will cheer regardless of what's happening. There were people. It does not matter how average and menial or pointless the recruit who's just committed. They will tout it as this is a really good get. Like those people exist, and there's nothing wrong with that role. But that's not Solari's role. His role is to hold the university to some level of accountability, and not to overly rip on them, but. Just because people covering Michigan don't always do their job adequately does not mean Solari shouldn't do his adequately.
David Zondi next. Just read that Jay Johnson got a $1.1 million buyout. That's total nonsense. No need for a subpar coach to have a buyout clause in his contract. Dude should have been welcome to flea flicker his way out of town whenever.
Yeah, I mean, they got fired middle of the year, and my guess is he was on a 2-year deal or whatever. This was going to happen. It was going to be expensive a little bit, and
Dave Warner is a millionaire.
They also saved money. They also saved money on Mel Tucker. Well,
I'm just saying.
No, college football coaching is not a poor man's business at the top level.
Bravo to Jay Johnson for getting that money.
Yeah,
I'm jealous. Gary Lipka next. Other than bringing in Kenneth Walker, hiring high school coach Courtney Hawkins was Mel Tucker's top move.
It was a good move. And Mel Tucker, Mel Tucker did some good things, and it didn't end well. There's some things that were less inspiring. But Courtney Hawkins and I think Jonathan Smith's decision to keep him was a really wise move. And when you talk to Courtney Hawkins, you get why. It would be weird to me if a coach interviewed Courtney Hawkins and then said, "I don't want the man." He's impressive, and I get why people have wanted him.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
G.E. Miller had 2 thoughts watching the Super Bowl. 1, if Holmes had picked up Chase Young for a bag of chips, we'd be celebrating a title today. 2, the Chiefs had answers on defense. The Lions did not. Holmes better work to improve this defense in the offseason. It's not good.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that it was the blitz by what's his nuts? Who's their star on the Chiefs defensive line?
Derek Thomas.
Fuck you. Hold on.
Christian Okoye. Barry Word. Steve DeBerg. Steve Bono.
Fuck, I did a search and it gave me Derek Thomas. Are you kidding me? Chris Jones.
Oh, yeah.
That blitz really, you had an open receiver in the end zone that Brock Purdy was unable to hit. And so I'm not saying the Lions couldn't have got to him in that moment either, but Chris Jones is an impressive player. And they made decisions when they let their top receiver go to Miami so they could build the rest of the roster. The Lions are going to have to make some of these same decisions at certain points. You can't have everything. And if you're going to pay Jared Goff close to Mahomes' money, he better freaking perform like Mahomes because you're going to lose some other pieces. That's the other thing I would keep saying. I forgot where the question was. There
was a question?
The take Chase Young.
Yeah.
He was not that great late in the year or in the playoffs. He had some moments okay yesterday.
But you still.
I wonder if Brad Holmes didn't know something that he was washed.
No, I just think that they want a certain type of player in their locker room, and I don't know if mentally. Obviously, Chase Young is an absolute beast when he can play well, but do you want to bring him in? Trees up next. The Lions will crush the Chiefs' three-peat dreams.
Ever the optimist, Trees.
Yeah, that's my wife. Yeah. She knows how to make me feel all right.
Yeah, that would be a hell of a storyline. I mean, I so badly, Jason, want to do the show with you the next day after that happens. Like after the Lions beat the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. I mean, we might not get around here. It might be like 8 p.m. before you came down for whatever high you were on enough to speak into a microphone. But it would be fun. It would be a lot of fun.
One day, hopefully. Cinema next. The Super Bowl should be played on Sunday. It's played on Sunday. No reason why it should not be. You mean Saturday?
Sunday's in the day? Yeah.
Played Sunday?
It was on Sunday. Today's Monday, right?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Bonus, well, this might tell you why. I'm hungover and grumpy, and so is everyone at my office. Dude, it needs to be a national holiday.
It does not.
Why is it not on a Saturday night, though?
No, well, here's the question. We keep getting this wrong. President's Day is next Monday.
Nobody gives a shit about that.
Right. People are off next week. And I'm not saying move the Super Bowl back a week. It's back far enough at this point. Move President's Day back a week. If today was President's Day, everybody would, for the most part, would have it off. It would be a national holiday.
Move President's Day up to today.
Yeah, right. Why not? I do not get it.
Whatever you want to call it. People just want the day off. They could give a shit.
Easter needs to be on the second Sunday in April. It needs to be the Masters Sunday. It doesn't matter about the Jewish lunar calendar. Nobody cares.
Calm down, Kanye.
I'm sorry. No, hey, no. I didn't mean that's not like an. Yeah, we'll fix that in post. That was not. I'm just saying, religiously, we have no clue on the actual date. If it was like, hey, we understand that it was this Sunday of the, no, no, and President's Day needs to be this particular Monday.
I love this show sometimes. Beppe Plum next. The NFL is overrated. College football is 10 times a better product, but NIL will destroy what makes it special, so high school will have to become king. Boo.
I don't think high school will ever become king. It's just not a high enough level. There's not enough TV. No, there's not enough interest. And now high school has already been destroyed by like school choice places. High school used to be better when you grew up in a neighborhood, you went to the neighborhood school, and so you had these lifelong affinities for a place. And now it's like, I went to 2 different high schools, or I went here but grew up here. High school lost its zest a long time ago. NIL will absolutely and it's not just NIL. It's the NIL and transfer portal. It's the way people are going to be less, because part of what people love about college football is that players and athletes choose the place that chose you. There is a common bond with that university. And when that bond is, when players are just coming for a paycheck and bouncing around, you don't feel as attached to them. The product is not actually better. It's not high enough most places. There are good college football games and good teams, but the NFL overall, and I know there's some bad quarterback play this year, is a better product.
Spartan 18770 next. Number 1, the Super Bowl halftime show has jumped the shark. 2, Amazon Prime will win the rights to the next NFL contract. And 3, golf in February is elite.
You certainly enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Play on a simulator. Actually hit balls outside the other day, last week.
It was Jake Boss was talking before Izzo's press conference earlier today, and the MSU baseball coach. They actually were able to get like 4 or 5 practices in outside on their field last week, which they never get to in February before they head south for their
global
opener.
Warming, baby.
It's
gotta love it.
The Amazon Prime streaming services are going to be a part of things. I would be surprised if Netflix isn't. At some point, there will be more regular games, I think, on streaming. I don't know if the Super Bowl ever gets there. I don't know if more than one playoff game gets there for a while. The networks are still in a pretty. I think we're years and years away from that stuff.
Hans Jurgen, number 1, I bet you $1 million that this hot take show will be delayed until Tuesday. Almost. 2, in honor of MSU's victory over Illinois, I have moved Graham in my LSJ writer bracketology to last 4 in.
Appreciate you, Hans.
Didn't he do that one last week?
He said I was last 4 out.
Oh, gotcha. 3, what is the whereabouts of the fear shooter? I demand retribution. And bonus, Graham does disturbing things when he's alone in the blue medical tent.
Well, I can't argue with that. But no word on the fear shooter. It's probably something, and I'll talk to Solari about, whether he's doing his job on this one. No, I'm kidding. Of course.
Go crack the case.
Yeah, I don't know if they have the guy yet, and that would obviously be unfortunate. But it is. We did it on Monday just for you, Hans, and it is great to be in your last 4 in.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy to end this. Number 1, tweeting this call for hot takes out during the Super Bowl was asinine. Boy, you're no good at Twitter, are you? 2, what is this? Hundel Durkle?
Herkel Durkle.
Herkel Durkle should be a job benefit that all companies offer.
Figure what this
Look
is.
that up. 3, the Super Bowl is overrated and is a perfect example of how the unfettered pursuit to squeeze all the money possible out of something is a bad thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, it is an infomercial of sorts, and I still enjoy it, but not as much as the championship games. Herkel Durkle, to lie in bed or lounge after it's time to get up and go to work. I do appreciate it. I respect that. Herkel Durkle, I didn't heard of it. I very much love it.
That was a thing. All right.
If we did not get, there were some Twitter questions we didn't get to last Thursday. We'll either include them in this week's Twitter question show, or we're going to do some Twitter questions during our Saturday live show. Again, we will be at Midtown Brewing Company 2 to 4 on Saturday, February 17th in downtown Lansing. Hope you will join us there. We appreciate, of course, Midtown Brewing Company. We appreciate Muskox quality flannels. Go to gomuskox.com/spring and check out their latest spring offerings, lighter offerings for this transitional season. And again, the promo code HOFF, H-O-F-F, for $15 off. You can look as good as me and Jason. Or yeah, that's not a good. We'll fix that one in post. We'll see you later this week, and we'll figure out the rest of the show week. But Saturday for sure. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.